Great. And we're a minute past, so I think we can go ahead and get started. Yeah, we can start with some quick intros and then dive into why we're here. I can go first. My name's Molly Wheaton. I'm a co-founder at Earn Better. We're a company that uses AI to help people in the job search. We have a bunch of free tools. So if you are on the job search and looking for some support, head to Earn Better. Before this, I spent about 10 years at different tech companies across a bunch of different functions and mostly based here in Austin, Texas. Would love to know where people are tuning in from. So feel free to comment with your location. And I'm pumped to have Giovanna from Rhize. Do you want to do a quick intro?
Sure. I'm Giovanna Ventola. I'm the founder of Rhize, which is the largest free online community for job seekers. It started as just a place for unemployed people to come and talk, and now it's sort of this big networking group of over 3,000 job seekers, whether you're employed or unemployed, and it's a big resource hub, knowledge sharing, all of the above. But again, it's free, which is why we love Earn Better, because we share that value of supporting job seekers in a way that's sustainable.
Back at you. Yeah, we're big fans of Rhize, and it is really, really helpful and great on like the camaraderie and information sharing front, as Giovanna mentioned. So if you haven't checked it out, you should. And then, yeah, just thanks for being here, Giovanna. I really appreciate it. We actually did our first LinkedIn Live last month, and it went really well, and we got a lot of good feedback. So figured we'd do another one. Today's episode is focused on the holidays, which can be a difficult time for anyone, but especially job seekers. So we wanted to tackle a few of the common questions and challenges that we hear from folks. And so that's what we're going to do here today. One other housekeeping thing before we get started, feel free to comment and ask questions throughout the event. I'm going to try to stay present in the conversation, but we'll, read comments as we can. And if we don't get to your questions in real time, we will review them at the end. And if we run out of time and we didn't get to your question, feel free to just follow up with either of us one-on-one, but we'll try to get to as many as we can. And with that, let's get started. So the first topic is how to make progress on your job search in December. Some job seekers might feel stagnant and aren't sure if what they should be doing, if there's anything they can be doing, should I still be applying, those sorts of questions at this point in the year. So would love to just kind of dive in there, Giovanna, wherever you want to start.
Yeah, I have a few thoughts personally, but also from recent conversations with members in Rhize. So personally, I was unemployed for 2 holiday seasons. And right now is my 3rd holiday season not being employed by a corporate company. So I've had a lot of experience with this. There's a lot of conversations around unemployment when you're home with your family and friends for the holiday. In terms of job postings and those types of things, obviously there's a slow. Every company slows down during the holidays. But what I encourage people to do is still check and refresh your job boards during the day. If you see something new that comes up, I would apply for it. If you see something that's been there for a while, maybe not worth it. I think if people are listing, and this is just my thought, if companies are listing jobs new around the holidays, they might be trying to collect information for the new year. They might not be hiring in the new year. Maybe they look through those in January, but at least get your information in early. So that's idea one. I wouldn't completely stop your job search unless you're completely burnt out. But I do think there's other ways that you can leverage the holiday season. One is holiday cards. And I know that's probably old school and cliche, but I think if you have connections that you want to reconnect with, the holidays is a pretty good time to either send an e-card about the holidays or do a check-in, do an end of year email, something that's a little bit less networky and a little more personal. If you have those kinds of relationships with people, that's one idea that we've talked about in Rhize. And I think The other thing is going to these corporate holiday parties if you can, or going to these sort of holiday events, or using your own personal holiday parties as like a way to network, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like those. And I think I totally agree with your first point. If you see new job posts go up that you're interested in, certainly get your application in, because there's probably not a ton of interviewing happening before the end of the year. There could be some like, first round screens, but it's likely going to be difficult to be, coordinating interviews with everybody who needs to be involved in the process. But to your point, they also could just be getting kind of their ducks in a row so they can hit the ground running in January. And you'd rather be included on that short list versus not. So I would still check for postings and apply to stuff that you're interested in. And then, I think you touched on this, but you can also start to prepare other things that you're going to do come the new year or at the end of the year, like, getting a list of companies together that you kind of want to target, identifying networking contacts that you want to either, reach out to for the first time or regroup with if it's somebody that you chatted with in the past. And you can kind of just start to get your, like your templates and your plan in place. So even if you're not necessarily doing those actions towards the end of the month, you're getting prepared so that when January hits, you're kind of ready to run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, big prep period for sure.
Exactly. And I would, like we mentioned this, but still check and see if jobs are being posted, because some other job seekers are probably unplugging and might not be applying as much. So it's actually a time when there might be fewer applicants. And so I would say definitely apply to the stuff that you see that you're interested in.
It's a good point. I didn't even think about that part.
Yeah. Because a lot of people are like, I'm not going to be able to make any progress. I'm just going to wait till, January. And so instead of a posting getting, 500 applicants, maybe it'll get half of that or something. The next topic we have is about, or I want to make sure, is there anything else on that topic, Giovanna, that you wanted to touch on before we move on? Are we good?
No, I can't remember what our next topic is. I think,
it's about setting boundaries for the holidays.
Oh, let's go there, because that kind of gets into the personal networking of it all.
Okay, cool. So this is something that, again, it's something that affects almost everybody, but like especially job seekers. And it's something we touched on in our last event, but I feel like Giovanna had some great ideas and has some additional ones. But let's just chat about, how to think about boundaries and how to set them around the holidays.
Yeah, I think we did touch on what I'm about to say. I think I said it in the last one, but you have to know, you're going to set boundaries, and boundaries can be set. And let's say like 9 times out of 10, they will not be respected. So you have to just remember that you're only in charge or in control of creating the boundaries. You're not in control of if people cross them. So what I like to do, and what I've shared with people in Rhize, is something my therapist has told me about. It's called coping ahead. So you come up with all the scenarios in your mind that someone could cross your boundary, and you plan a response to that ahead of time. And it kind of helps you. We all know your aunt is going to ask a stupid question about networking. We all know somebody's going to be like, I don't understand how you've been unemployed for 2 years just doing whatever. We all know, right? And so how do you come up with your elevator pitch or your answer, 1 to 2 sentences, and you look and you just kind of go like, okay, here's my answer, and then flip the question back on them. That's something that we've been practicing a lot in our networking calls. So I'll pause there if you have any questions or specific thoughts around that before I keep going.
No, I love that. And I've never heard that, but I love that term about coping ahead, because you can anticipate, you probably can't anticipate 100% of what's coming your way, but you can anticipate a big chunk, and you probably have an idea of who they're coming from too. So if you think about that and then figure out how you're going to respond to that and deflect, then when it happens, it might not be as like triggering or as annoying because you're like, well, I'm ready for this and I know how I'm going to, respond or react.
Yeah, and it's super annoying that you have to plan for this. Like it is like I at first would like stomp my feet and be like, well, why am I the one that has to do this? Like do all this extra mental work. But once you do it once or twice, it becomes second nature and you can start to anticipate every scenario. And I'll tell you, like in all these situations, coping ahead literally saved me this entire year. But I have been getting so good at anticipating these situations that none of them even happen. So it's like in my mind, as I'm planning for the worst never even happens. And so it's kind of a way to like get you through and kind of make you realize it's never going to be as bad as what could happen in your head, which takes time and practice. But it's been a really helpful tool for most things this year. So
I love that.
yeah.
And I think too, I mean, I know not all relatives would respond to this, but like you can also say like, give them, a 1 or 2 sentence kind of general answer. And if they continue to poke at it, just be like, I appreciate you expressing interest, but I'd rather just talk about something else. Or,
Yeah.
and again, somehow redirect the conversation. I mean, hopefully they will be responsive to that. I know that there are some family members tend to be a little bit more nosy or assertive than others.
Yeah, and we talked about this on our call. Like I think it was last week. We did a creative gift giving call because we were like, there's a lot of people that and in order to creatively give gifts, you have to plan ahead. So we did a creative gift giving call where we kind of all shared these ideas of how to give to people without breaking your bank account or ruining your savings or being too stressed. But during that call, there was a lot of conversation around why there is stress with gifts. And there was someone who was telling a story. No one in her family, no one, and she has a large extended family, has struggled with job loss. And she's had a very interesting situation with the company she worked for and an NDA that like, or NDA, non-compete, one of those things that she signed. She's having a different situation. And so she's had a longer term unemployment. She's been doing part-time work. Anyway, all that to say, her family does not understand. They can't. They just don't have the ability to put themselves in her shoes. And so they ask more questions than what a lot of us have experienced yet. But it did set a lot of us up to understand that these questions might be asked. And we kind of came up with, this way of explaining to somebody what you're going through, but and I'm doing this right now, right? The longer you talk, the more people are going to ask questions. Sometimes the like dumber you sound because you keep talking because you just want them to understand. But it's not your job to make them understand. It's your job to tell them, and then you can back off and let them internalize whatever they need. And I think it's more just like the comfortability in expressing your situation. But if you follow it up with a goal or like, this is happening, but this is what I'm doing. And this is what I plan to do. And this is what January is going to look like for me. You might get more questions about January in a positive way of like, oh, that's a great idea. How can I help? Or that's awesome. I'll introduce you to this person, instead of a like, well, what have you been doing? Have you been networking? How have you been dealing with this? I'm rambling and I'm doing exactly what I told everyone not to do, but
I think
that helps.
No, for sure. And I like that because if you are talking about like a forward-looking plan, then the person, I mean, they could, but it would be more likely that they are going to comment on that or potentially move on versus on what you're doing now. So I think that's a great idea. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I had this quote, and hang on, I'm going to have to pull it up because I want to read it appropriately, and it's like right here on my computer. Hang on. I said I wasn't going to do not full screen, but it's actually a good one. And it applies to exactly what we're talking about.
Perfect.
I wish I thought of this before. Okay, so I heard this quote. It's literally in my notes, and I have a list of notes that says I heard this somewhere, but I can't remember. And so that's this. But it said, not everyone is as deep in this as we are. And it's so simple. But I think during the holidays, you're going to be around people that are not in it that deep. They have no idea. They're on autopilot with their job. They're just coasting, and that's okay. And right now, you don't have the luxury of being on autopilot, and you are so deep into this thing that nobody else is that deep in. And sometimes you just have to like accept that and be like, all right, Aunt, like Jane just isn't into this as deep as I am. And she just doesn't know. And that's okay. And you just have to be comfortable with that. But I keep repeating that thought in my head a lot.
Yeah, I like that. And it kind of ties to something you said earlier, not verbatim, but it's like control what you can control and, focus on what you can control, and the stuff that you can't, it's like, try to anticipate it, figure out how you can deal with it. But also, there's only so much you can do. And to your point, it's not like your job to be able to like convince relatives or friends or something of your, situation. So I think that's good.
Yeah.
And then something you brought up previously that I loved was like having a buddy system.
Mm-hmm.
So whether that's somebody that you can just like text or call if you're frustrated or want to vent, or at a family event, or if you're going to a, holiday party and you have a friend, but just like somebody who can kind of keep an eye on you. And I don't know if you do like the little ear tug if you need to be rescued, or like, but somebody who's in your corner who, like, if they see somebody, is kind of, beating a dead horse on this conversation topic, they can come in and kind of help.
Yeah, I do both. I have buddies at the party or at where I need to be at, and then I have text buddies, and that's what we're talking about in Rhize, is like have people, 1, 2, 3, whoever, that are able to advocate for you in person or are able to pull you away from a situation. Like Four Christmases is one of my favorite Christmas movies. Have you seen that? And like
Absolutely.
When they need to escape, they say mistletoe. It's like you got to find something like your mistletoe. And then also I have people that I can text and just be like, oh my gosh, like, or like SOS, call me type of thing, and like get out of the room. Or just somebody I can text and be like, this is BS. I don't want to deal with this. I think it's really important to build your like little army of people that have your back and like don't ask questions and don't make you feel bad, both in person and virtually. Because also we all been to parties alone that you have to go to. So it's good to have that outside. We've connected people in Rhize so that they have each other, and we're doing a call before the holidays to like reconnect everybody and be like, okay, if you need this, there's a group of people that all needs it. Find your buddy, reach out to your buddy. And then, we're doing a few different holiday support calls. We were going to cancel all the calls, but then realized this was necessary, so that people can like pre-holiday plan, post-holiday debrief, and like post-New Year's, kind of talk about, air out their frustrations in a safe space. So
yeah, I like that. And those 3 events, if people on the call want to learn more about them, just go to Rhize. Is that the easiest way to do it?
Yeah. So if you're a member in the community, and actually maybe it will be on our public facing calendar soon, but yeah, if you're in the community, it'll be in our Rhize events calendar.
Okay.
And you can just join. And so, yeah, we can talk about that at the end.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And then you touched on this on like during the boundaries section, but the last thing we were going to talk about was like gift giving and expectations, because people feel obligated in some cases to do something over the holidays, might not necessarily be in a good spot to do so. And I know you guys have had some conversations in the community about this. So just wanted to kind of get your thoughts and perspective on that.
Yeah, we talked about a few different ways to handle gifts. I'll try to give a quick summary. One is to talk to the people that you are close with, explain your situation, be transparent, and see where it goes from there. I have a very small family. It's just me, my mom, my dad, and my sister. It's pretty easy. They know where I'm at. I know where they're at. We don't really do gifts anymore. It's kind of like easier for me, right? we did the holidays one year with a big extended family. And I suggested this for anyone who has a big family. If you're able to just say, let's do a white elephant or a secret Santa where everyone just brings one gift. So you're not buying 100 gifts, then that's great. Somebody suggested in our call that like she told all the adults in her family, like, I'm not doing adult gifts. I would rather get gifts for my nieces and nephews, the younger kids, focus on them. And then like, we're too old for gifts type of thing. However you want to handle that conversation is good. There were some really cool ideas for like cheaper gifts. Like somebody was making homemade cranberry juice or cranberries and like then giving it with like in this cocktail and like giving it with cocktail. And they explained that like cranberries are in season right now, so you can buy them in bulk and whatever. There was all these really cool DIY suggestions that I wish I had the patience and time for, but I just I don't. But somebody suggested, and I really liked this suggestion, finding quality time. So like if there are people in your life that you want to give a gift to, but you can't, like money wise, but you don't see them very often, but like making the time. So this woman was talking about her grandmother and she's going to make the time to go see her grandmother where she stays in her care facility and all of that. And so like thinking through that, I think is important because we also talked about how it's really important to plan these things ahead, right? Because the worst thing you can do is not get anybody a gift. And then on Christmas Eve, you're running around and it's the last minute stuff that makes you impulse buy or makes you just be like, oh, I'll just get this. Like, I don't really care. And you end up spending more money than you want, or you end up not thinking it through. And then it doesn't really matter anyway. So yeah, I hope that answers some.
I think, yeah, those are some great ideas. And I think you hit the nail on the head, starting with just like, being transparent with the people you're going to be with over the holidays. And honestly, like I'm not looking for a job right now. And I still set this expectation up with my sister and the rest of my family. It's like, I love you guys. And I'm going to get gifts for the kids, like my nephews, but for the adults, like, I think that's kind of a waste of money. And you could do like what you were saying, like DIY gifts. You could also do something like a nice card with like a nice note in it. Like that's very meaningful.
Yeah.
Something I used to do when I was little, but I actually think this makes a really good gift. And it's kind of similar to your idea around quality time. But I used to give like coupons where it would be like, I'll make dinner tonight, or I'll wash your car. And it's like, you can kind of cash that coupon in when you need to.
Or throughout the year, it kind of gives you an excuse to like see the person, right? Like
exactly.
Something that's more like it is tangible because you're giving them a card, but it's like something that's a little more personal, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. And engaging throughout, whatever period. Like my boyfriend loves playing board games. So like if I gave him one where it's like, you get to choose what board game we play tonight, like he would probably use that by like January 2nd.
And we talked about doing like somebody suggested in the group, doing a theme gift, like where everyone in your family, everyone gets one board game and you exchange it. And then the thing is like, you get to play that all together or something like that. And it's better than just a thing, I think.
Totally.
That's one really good idea that I loved actually. And I want to say it before I forget. So this woman during COVID did this, two things actually. She's actually really creative with her gifts. One, she threw a murder mystery dinner at her house. And so she's like, I went to Goodwill and I got like vintage stuff and I got whatever. And she planned the dinner and whatever. So all she had to pay for was like cooking the dinner. Mm-hmm. And then everything else was like put together, this murder mystery theme, and people dressed up and she sent out the things, and it was a big event for like her family, and they didn't get to see each other, much. So it was good. And then the other thing she suggested was Airbnb has experiences. And I usually think about this when I travel, but apparently they have virtual experiences, or they have different experiences you can gift in a way. So she said her family did like a cannoli making class with some lady in Italy who like virtually like joined and taught them how to make cannolis. And like, that's one gift for a group. So it's a way to like get the most out of your money and have people hanging out. So I liked those ideas a lot.
I really like that. Like something that's one to many. And obviously, you know, I'm sure the cannoli making, you could do any sort of like food or cocktail
Yeah.
or whatever that fits with your family. I like that a lot. That's a great idea.
Yeah, I liked that idea a lot too. So
Also, I did not know that about Airbnb
I didn't,
experiences. So I'll have
yeah,
to look
I
into that.
had to go, but I guess like they have a bunch of different things. And then we talked a lot about finding Groupons, but I guess they're not as prevalent in the US as they used to be. So,
Yeah, it's a good idea though.
yeah.
All righty. Well, I think I'm gonna scroll through the comments, and if folks have questions or ideas or things that we haven't touched on, please drop them in because we have a few more minutes. But let's see. We have someone. Hello to Georgia and Nashville. We have someone from Ohio, North Carolina.
Oh wow, everyone's
Someone loves the coping ahead strategy. Me too. I think that's great. I feel like that's really relevant for like all facets of life. And we have somebody from North Dakota. And then we had somebody else comment that positive self-talk is so important. That was 10 minutes ago. So I think that must have been during boundaries and during holidays, but I'm taking a guess there.
Yeah. I always say too, like and this is like a me thing, and I don't know that everybody wants to do this, but when in doubt, I always just default to like, let's play a game or let's have fun or like, I don't know. I think I said this last time. Like, if you can be the fun person in the room, if that's your personality, to like, let's do this, let's do that, let's play a game, let's like something. There's all these weird holiday games you can find on TikTok or whatever. Like, just be that person. And then you don't have to talk about anything else. Like, if you bring a game, nobody cares about your job. Like, everyone just cares, like, make it fun. And then it's like, I don't care what she does.
Yeah, no, I like that. Yeah, no, like and there's a lot of games that you can do where you don't have to spend money either. Like you could play Salad Bowl, you know, the one where you you throw names into the bowl. So there's ones where like you don't even have to buy something ahead of time. But it can be entertaining. Also, I mean, I find them fun. I know not everybody's a huge fan of all the games, but I definitely am.
But there's yeah, it's a good way to get everyone like out of the small talk and
Yes.
doing something else. So
Which honestly, again, whether the small talk is on the job search or something else, like a lot of the small talk around the holidays is pretty brutal. And so
especially if you're seeing people for the first time, like that you haven't seen in a long time, it's like, I don't really want to tell you what's going on in my life.
Yeah. And like you probably don't really want to tell me. But here we are.
That's also a good point. It's like the reason they're asking you is because they don't want to tell you about themselves. So let's just both not ask each other anything like that and like do something else.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody has something that they don't want to talk about or that's like maybe not going as well as they want. And so even if it's not a job search, it's something else. So it's just like everybody try to be on good behavior and be nice to each other and just be kind.
Yeah, exactly. I like that.
All righty. Well, I don't see any other questions, so I think we can wrap there. But thank you everybody again for joining. Giovanna, really appreciate it again. Great ideas and tactics for the group and appreciate it. And we'll see everybody next time.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Bye-bye, everybody.
Wow.